FCS fans nation. The Grizzly Bears are back from their slumber. Jamie Williams, Kyler Neal, Matthew Frazee, we have returned to the podcast network. We are pumped. We are back. The FCS Fans Nation podcast is kicking off once again, going into a new football season. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. In our inaugural episode, we are just absolutely pumped to once again bring you what is undoubtedly one of the most highest viewed, highly anticipated episodes that we do, which is the first one, and it centers around Mr. Jamie Williams giving us his season preview of the FCS season. And with that, ignore Jamie. Kyler Neal, it's been a long summer. It's been a long time. I haven't seen your beautiful face. What has been new in your world before we talk some football?
Man, I miss you guys. This is always like the best one because I get we talk frequently through our messenger and all that, but we don't see each other till the week after Frisco. So this is always like it's an awkward hello, but an excited one too, because I miss you guys and I know what the season is all about. But no, nothing new, just working, still traveling every single week, switching regions every week. So never know where I'm going to be, but I'm not going to be in Florida ever again, at least not for the next 6 months. So going back out west a little bit, heading to Phoenix, heading to Denver, the places I love, the mountains, that West Coast boy. I just, Texas is just too flat, too humid. So is Florida. So I'm excited to go back out west for work.
That's cool, dude. We spent some time in Denver for my Marine buddy who got married out in Colorado area. Oh my gosh. Just no wonder people flock to that part of the country. It's beautiful.
100%.
Not as beautiful though as the great Jamie Williams, who is our top guy this evening. Jamie, this has to does it feel like an honor? Do you feel nervous about these episodes? You're a stats voter. You put out your ballot every single week. You're one of the most respected voters in the country, and you rank all teams before the season. Tell us about this year and this process, dude.
It's definitely more difficult this year than any other year. It's been more difficult the last few years, and you can kind of tell by the how far off I was on a lot of teams from the start to the end last year versus previous years. Some of it wasn't very good, but that's kind of the nature of college football now. You don't really know until you play the games, and it kind of gives validation to what Rev always says about how preseason polls don't matter. Doesn't matter till about week 4, and he's not wrong, but it's still fun. But yeah, it was definitely a little bit more difficult process. I definitely made a lot of edits after draft 1, talked to quite a few people in and around football, people that you would, recognize and know, obviously, that have a clue about different conferences and the teams and FCS as a whole. So, yeah, it was a fun process. I'm never really nervous because I know I'm not going to get most of it right. But hey, last year, I think 40 of the teams I got within 10 spots from first before they started to where they finished. But then again, I also had 45 teams that finished 35 spots or worse than where I had them start from an absolute value standpoint. So, that's okay. And it's going to happen again here, but we're still going to have fun with it. Miss you guys so much. I got my NDSU shirt, my Eastern Washington hat, just so you guys feel the love.
Did not miss you guys that much, apparently.
Yeah. So
I apologize.
That's okay. One of the teams is FBS of ours, so you could rep it on that first FCS podcast.
That's true.
But yeah, throw out that Duke gear. I got give out a shout out to the Rev. I got his team rocking on my lid tonight, and this beautiful flag I've got behind me from him. So I'm sure we'll be hearing from him this year. And our FCS boys of Incarnate Word, big expectations this year for the Bird is the Word. So I figured I'd rock that T-shirt to start. Speaking of starting off, huge shout out to the FCS Gold community who, through the offseason, stuck with us, continued to contribute to support the podcast. We plan to give that back to you guys as much as possible. And that starts with this. Every single week with FCS Gold, this is what I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to hit on the fact that you get the podcast ad-free. I'm not going to hit overall the fact that you get your questions guaranteed within the podcast. This is the thing with FCS Gold that we got feedback on last year. Bros, dudes, what the heck? You're telling me there was a playoff bracket challenge? and these pick'em challenges, like where was that? I saw that on the page, especially the playoff bracket challenge. People were like, I would have absolutely done that to try to win a $50 gift card. So we give out probably even more cash this year, but that's the thing. If you subscribe to FCS Gold, which the link is in the YouTube description, it is $1 a month. It's $1, which allows you to go into 2 separate contests at the end of the season, the Pick'em Challenge and the Playoff Bracket Challenge, for a chance to win $50. Win them both, that's $100. So essentially, you pay $5-6 throughout the season, get your opportunity to compete. So promote that every single week. The link is in the description for FCS Gold. Beyond that, got some exciting news into a new season. Why don't we kick right into that, Mr. Kyler Neal? What do we have on up here?
We got a new sponsor, and again, this one is just a guy that we love, the FCS Fans Nation crew. So we decided, hey, put us on your show. We're going to help you out. So crush dehydration with Renegade Hydrate, packed with electrolytes, vitamins, and zero sugar. Renegade Hydrate fuels your body for the peak performance, fast recovery, and all-day energy. Whether you're grinding at the gym or pulling a Matt Frazee saying his horrible annual takes about Furman being back, that's never going to happen, Matt. I'm sorry. Or if you're staying sharp like Jamie and doing all the research necessary for this giant list, or if you're staying strong like Thumper, all I got to know is, hey, just stay hydrated. Clean, powerful Renegade, now available on Amazon. Grab yours today and feel the difference with Renegade Hydrate.
Link is in the description on YouTube every single week. We take no money for the sponsorship because we just love Dallas as a human. For anybody else who would love to sponsor the show, it's the standard fee, $1,000. All right, Jamie Williams, let's kick into this sucker.
All right, now that we've handled the business part of FCS Fans Nation, let's talk about some football teams, because in less than 3 weeks, we have teams putting the ball down for real, for a record that counts. Week 0 is coming, and we're going to do this one. We're going to go conference by conference, and we're going to go in inverse order of the conference rankings based off the average ranking of each team in my rankings, and you'll see where they're ranked all the way through, and then at the end, you'll see 26 through 128, and then you'll see the top 25 that was submitted to the Stats Perform poll, which, by the way, will be out Monday, August 4th at some point. So look for that. The watch lists have already come out for the Buck Buchanan and the Walter Payton Award. So keep your eye out for all that good content coming. You know, my top 25 and more will be out there each week, because that's how I believe it should be. And without further ado, the worst conference in the FCS,
The
no
Big
disrespect,
Sky.
is the Pioneer Football League.
Oh, Pioneer.
It's to be expected. I mean, it's got a lot of teams that are down, 90 and below. I've got Drake as the best team in the Pioneer coming in. I believe if you looked at their preseason poll, they have San Diego, so there's a little bit of difference there. Do you guys have anything to add on the Pioneer here? Anybody that you'd like to look out for? I know everybody wants to keep talking about St. Thomas, but let's see them do it.
I'm sold on St. Thomas. I think they're going to get there because, again, it's a football town. They're excited. They're still brand new to the FCS, but they've been murdered by every scholarship team they've played. Luckily, they're going to play in a conference that has none, so it's fine. But I think that is a team, at least we need to be on the lookout. But it's kind of exciting. I will say this, for a non-scholarship league, having a Drake that people are aware of, having San Diego, that's always been the powerhouse the last few years, having St. Thomas, it seems like the Pioneer Leagues get more talked about in recent years than maybe the NEC, which who would have thought that would happen? So it's pretty cool. Maybe if they keep pumping through some volume, getting some more upsets, beating my team, whatever. But yeah, it's exciting for the Pioneer League. I just wish they had, scholarships so they could actually be competitive.
I don't know. St. Thomas finally has that transition completed. Again, I wish that they were a Missouri Valley team, but what are you going to do? And yeah, you're going to get your one team from the Pioneer League. So the question when you look at these rankings is, that's kind of your gut punch, Jamie, is that the Drake Bulldogs are going to be that team that's coming out, or at least preseason.
That's how it feels preseason wise. You never know, but I'm going to give you, just because I'm going to take a flyer, and I'm not going to take a flyer on Dayton, but Morehead State. That might be a team to keep an eye on as far as the Pioneer Football League goes. They've got they've got some good coaches. They've got some players. I believe they actually have a guy that just needed a place to play, that started his career at the FBS level and went into the transfer portal and never really found a home, and wound up at Morehead State somehow with some friends. So, hey, that might be a team to watch. Average rank of this conference is 95. So that's the last place conference. We'll go, not surprisingly, to the other lower scholarship conferences. That's the NEC. I think last year we remember Duquesne and Central Connecticut State, the last week of the season, played a game that was basically winner makes the playoffs, and the quarterback for Duquesne threw 7 interceptions, and Central Connecticut stole that bid. So I definitely think the top 3 teams here are the teams you're looking at to compete for the NEC title. But I do have the other Dukes as the highest rated team at 54, average rating 89.75. So about 0.3 of a point out on average worse, better than the Pioneer. Any thoughts here? We see Stonehill still can't get out of the figurative basement here yet.
I think the best thing about the Northeast Conference, they might have the best mascots known to man. Look at all these, right? The Maryhurst Lakers, the Island Sharks, the Red Flash, man, the Skyhawks. This is a conference that's built for power. The Blue Devils, they might. I have no clue about anything of what they're bringing back. Hopefully, we see some of them. Like Duquesne's made some splashes in the past. You always had CCU make some splashes, but again, the only thing I really know about them is they got the best freaking mascots in all the FCS. Ugly colors, 100% ugly logos too, but the mascots are legit. That's all I care about the NEC.
And Mercyhurst, they will schedule damn near anybody too.
Who do they play? Have you looked it up?
I know they've played just like 4 really solid teams in their non-conference. I don't remember who it is because again.
Oh shit!
Yeah, rattle it.
Young State's like their worst one. But then they play Sac State, Montana State, South Dakota State. I mean, that's
See?
Go get it. They're not afraid of anyone.
I like looking at those teams like Long Island, Mercyhurst, some of these others that have just come in, but I don't see them making much traction. So I kind of like what you have here. And it's like, can the Northeast Conference team get in and beat a CAA team and then lose the next round? And I hate to be that person, but we'll see.
That just means that would mean more than one CAA team has to actually get in this year.
That's true, and they don't deserve it. They're this conference. But that is a pretty big gap between a Maryhurst and a Robert Morris. I mean, when you were building this, and this is going to be a question maybe you can't answer, what is the biggest difference maker between those top 3 versus pretty much the rest of the conference, which is some of the worst in the nation? Because that's a big gap. So that should be like some pretty dominating wins across the board for some of those teams.
That's a good question, and it probably is. It's almost got to be the NEC here, just because you got those few teams, that Duquesne, Central Connecticut, Robert Morris really stacked at the top, and then you've got 3 teams stacked way at the bottom. So, and then you've got those 2 teams like right in the middle that they can take advantage of some games. But I think you're looking at a solid 3-team race, and then we'll see what anybody else has.
Now, could those 3 teams, depending on which seed they get, maybe could they get a lower tier 4 or 5 seed and actually maybe pull off an upset, or they're just not even quite there? It's going to be a blowout.
I mean, they've done it before. So, if they do get a CAA team, let's say Duquesne pulls like a Stony Brook, because Stony Brook somehow sneaks in there and gets a home game, because Stony Brook, they really had a nice season last year. Maybe we'll talk about them a little bit when we get to the CAA, but you can see a mid-level CAA team losing to an NEC team. It's not uncommon. It's happened before. So
fair enough.
I think there's enough there.
Jamie, I'm sorry if I missed this, but did you set yourself up for some intense failure here or success? The end of the season this year, Duquesne, Central Connecticut, Robert Morris, they will play each other. If you took Duquesne's schedule, they'll play Central Connecticut on November 15th, and they'll go at Robert Morris the next week. And you have them ranked Duquesne 54, Central Connecticut 57th, Robert Morris 61st. That is talk about an end of year could take the title. That's
you'll find, if you really look at these rankings really close, you'll find a lot of instances where I've got clusters of teams in certain conferences because I think they're really close.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's a big gap between them, so I put them really close to each other, and that's kind of what you see here. You'll see it in other conferences too. You'll see it some in the CAA. You'll see it at the top of the valley. You'll see it in the United Athletic as we get along the way. You'll see I've got clusters of teams that look like they're going to be very similar, and then it's going to be how do the teams actually perform on Saturday. Just one team outcoach the other. Is there injury that hurt a team? And then you'll see how that fluctuation goes. So you'll see very clustered groups in certain conferences of 2, 3, and sometimes maybe even 4 teams. So it was moderately intentional when I do stuff like that.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, Northeast Conference. I think it kind of looks like it always does, and we'll see who the champion is when it comes out of it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not one of those 3 teams at the top, I'll be very surprised.
Very well. So Duquesne, Central Connecticut, and Robert Morris. Those are the teams to watch in the NEC. Very cool. Who do we got next?
All right. Next, we've got the MEAC. And in most of the rest of the conferences, you'll see that I've got some teams kind of bolded out and highlighted a little bit bigger. Usually 1 team, maybe 2 teams in a conference. And here in the MEAC, with their average ranking of 81.5, it's interesting that I have highlighted the bottom 2 teams at 105 and 112. I do think both of those teams have a chance to be much higher than where they are in the year. I don't think either one is better than South Carolina State or North Carolina Central. But both of those teams will have a lot of eyeballs on them, not because of necessarily who's on the field, but because of who's on the sideline. You got Michael Vick at Norfolk State and Deshaun Jackson at Delaware State. So that game between those two is going to be, obviously it's going to be a sellout. It'll get a lot of eyeballs. And I'm really interested to see how these next 2 guys translate into the coaching ranks. We had a big hype with Deion Sanders, and a lot of guys just that played in the NFL recently are going the college head football coaching route. And it's cool, like Jackson State with Deion, that the HBCU teams have given opportunities to younger Black guys getting into the head coaching ranks. And I'm really interested to see how Norfolk State and Delaware State perform. That said, I think Chennis Berry has a really good South Carolina State Bulldogs team. North Carolina Central has been real solid for the last couple of years. And then, Howard and Morgan State, I think they're just going to be where they are. But it's always fun to watch some MEAC football. They'll have the classics between some MEACs and SWAC teams. So definitely going to be fun to watch, but I'm really interested to see how Vic and Jackson do in their first years.
So I have a couple questions. For one, I think that South Carolina and NCCU is pretty accurate because we've also saw like South Carolina State didn't struggle versus anyone besides NCCU in conference play. They just blew out everyone. So I think that's fair that there is a giant gap between those 2 and then the rest. But man, I'm curious why you because we saw with Jackson State. And I get Jackson State is a different level than a Norfolk State or Delaware State. That's just the reality. They had more alumni, more boosters. The game atmosphere is a lot different than Norfolk or Delaware State. So I totally get maybe why Jackson State got all of this with the recruits, how they bumped up the rankings really fast even before it was proven. Where it's kind of curious you're seeing these 2 guys at the bottom of your ranking for this conference. But why Howard above everyone? Because they were probably the worst team last year in all the FCS. And you're going, hey, I'm going to pump them up above some of these new coaches that are going to bring some stars, that are going to bring some eyeballs, that are going to bring some talent that should just in a conference like this, maybe jump over to them. And again, I'm putting some pressure on you right now because that's the only one I see on here go, man, just when you bring a star-studded cast, they're going to bring some athletes with them that are just going to be excited to play for them. So why Howard? Why did Howard get the boost and not those 2?
Oh, I don't remember where I had Howard, but I mean, they did. I had a great season last year. I mean, they beat Morehouse, they beat Sacred Heart, they shut out Delaware State, and Delaware State's just always been bad.
So bad. Yeah, fair.
But yeah, so I'm kind of going off a little history, and I didn't want to bump those 2 just because of the coach's name yet, because I didn't do it with Deion either. Jackson State was fair. A much better program.
You got to earn it a little bit.
And this also, I finished this ranking before Caden Bennett transferred from Sacramento State to Delaware State, which should make them significantly better. I mean, Howard at 92, Morgan State at 99 is just bottom tier teams, and Norfolk and Delaware just haven't been good. And I have to see the product on the field as much as I want to respect the coach. And I always play a wait and see game. I did it with Dion, and as soon as it was pretty apparent, even with guys like Shador and Travis Hunter, I had them pretty low, and then you shoot up quick because I'm not afraid to make big moves.
Right.
I think honestly, Howard and Morgan State, they're probably going to be two of the teams that I'm going to be pretty spot on with because they're going to be what they are, what it feels like they are. I could see everybody else actually moving up from where they are,
That's kind of my
even
thought.
if it's just a little bit.
That's kind of my thought. I think we're going to see Norfolk and Delaware jump Morgan State and Howard. Now, I'm not saying they jump to the level of a South Carolina State because that is a well-coached, well-oiled machine that they're building over there. And I get it. I get why you didn't maybe put them in the same respect as maybe a Jackson State. It hasn't been as flashy, right? They haven't had a Travis Hunter, the number one recruit in the nation, come to an HBCU. But they have had some good transfers. So I'm going to be excited to actually pay attention because the MEAC, I was bummed. After North Carolina A&T left, and then Florida A&M left to go to the SWAC, it just felt like the MEAC was done. Like they were just garbage. They're not going to compete with the SWAC in terms of eyeballs, in terms of revenue, in terms of anything. But any of these flashy coaching hires, man, it's going to bring some eyes. It's going to bring some excitement. So I'm kind of excited about the MEAC, and maybe they could still end up being the top dogs in the Celebration Bowl at the end of the day.
Yeah, I definitely intend to watch a decent amount of MEAC football. And another thing about South Carolina State, this is only Chennis Berry's second year there, taking over for a great coach, Buddy Pugh. So Chennis Berry coming from, I believe, the D2 ranks to come up and coach that and did a really nice job in year one. So I expect him to build on that.
He went to Celebration Bowl. They lost to Jackson State, though, right?
Correct, yeah. Jackson State.
What was the score? I don't remember.
It's a good question.
It wasn't close, right?
No, not Jackson State.
I think Jackson State blew the crap out of them.
Yeah. I'll look it up real quick.
So that'll be interesting to see if you bounce back or do you get mentally defeated and then you regress a little bit.
Yeah, it was 28-7.
Okay. Still not close, but
yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking it was like 40-12. Fair enough. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back from that. That's the last game in everyone's mind, right? You're only as good as you end. So it'll be interesting to see, do you have the mentality where you're just, hey, we're moving forward. We're the celebration champs the year prior, because I believe they won it the year prior, or are you back to being the SWAC's B word, if you can say?
And next on the list, we do have the SWAC.
Okay.
MEAC and SWAC, they go hand in hand. I broke these out east and west. Just the main reason I kind of broke these out east and west is just how much better the top few teams in the east are than basically anybody in the west. I just think Jackson State and Florida A&M are heads and shoulders above everybody. You can see Jackson State actually makes an appearance in the top 25 at 15. And we'll talk about the whole top 25 here in a little while. Florida A&M still another good team. Alabama State, a lot of people really liked them going into last year because of their defense. They kind of faltered a little bit. So got them here in the high 50s. We'll see if they can just turn it up a little bit and see if they can improve from last year. As far as the West, Southern and Alcorn, I think are solidly the two top teams. You'll see 63 and 68. Again, another pairing that's not too far apart, and then it spreads out from there. Then you got a couple of teams outside of 100 here, but pretty good teams here. Jackson State has a real chance to make some real noise here, and I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of losses in conference for them. I would expect they wind up in the Celebration Bowl again, but hey, anything can happen, and that game against Florida A&M is going to be excellent.
Yeah, if you look at Hero Sports preseason, the East Division, Jackson State got 16 first-place votes, and then Florida A&M follows that. And in the West Division, Southern with 17 first-place votes. So, I mean, comparison to what you have here, East and West, you're pretty aligned with exactly where Hero Sports is, but there's a big discrepancy between Jackson State at 15 and Southern there at 63rd. So, I mean, preseason doesn't mean much for an actual game when it plays out, but in your eyes, East should be sitting pretty when those two actually square off.
Yeah, I think the champ comes out of the East. And Jackson State, I mean, they've got a real solid chance to do something pretty special. I don't see a whole lot of L's on this schedule. Their FBS game is Southern Mississippi, who was 1-11 last year. I will say Southern Mississippi is basically last year's Marshall team, about 40% of it. So there will be improvements in Hattiesburg, but I don't think they're going to just roll over a pretty good Jackson State team. So I'm pretty interested in that team. I think they're really, really good. Dion left that program in good shape, and they've just continued on in his absence. Kyler, any thoughts here on the SWAC?
Yeah, right now that's just a funding machine type of a program where they're going to be set for a while in the SWAC. No, when you look at the East versus West, I mean, it is very transparent. The East is better. I still don't know how Jackson State ran the table but lost to Grambling because it was a non-conference game because of the East and West. So it was kind of weird, but I don't know how you lose to Grambling. Didn't they lose?
Yeah, I think.
No, they ran the table.
They were 12-2 last year. So they lost to Louisiana Monroe, and then they lost to Grambling 41-20. It's just I don't know how that happened. We're not there yet.
There you go. Hey, sneak peek. But no, when you look at the East versus West, it is very transparent which one is by far better. I'm rooting for Prairie View, man. I got a little soft spot in my home because they're only 15, 20 minutes from where I live. Amazing venue. And I know they're getting some players in the portal, so it should be interesting to see it. And I think they just got a big-time commit recently, if I remember. But again, I'm rooting for Prairie View to make a splash. I just don't think anyone's going to touch Jackson State.
And we love Coach Fred, so we want Alcorn to do well.
That's very true. Go, Coach.
Go, Coach Fred.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting with Jackson, Florida A&M. You know me, the Rattlers. I hate snakes, but I love those jersey colors because Lawrence hates them.
Lawrence is wrong.
They're so ugly. I'm with Lawrence on these.
But I love them. I love that orange and green, man. I think it's phenomenal.
I mean, sometimes it just comes down to the quarterback, and I'm not judging others who they're going to put on the field, but you get a Morgan who's going into senior year, 21 touchdowns, 2,200 yards last year, 6'4", 227 pounds. That guy is. He's built like a quarterback, and this is pretty crazy.
Not an Eastern quarterback.
Yeah, not an Eastern quarterback, like an NDSU tight end at quarterback. You look at the 2025 preseason All SWAC football selections, and 7 of them are Jackson State for first team. 8 of them are Florida A&M. So,
dang.
I mean, that is going to be – I think that's going to be a lot more intense than people realize. That should be a fun matchup. That should be good.
Well, then here's the question everyone wants to know, and this is where we're going to get a lot of controversy. Does the loser of the Jackson State-Florida A&M game make the FCS playoffs?
I mean, based off 2 years ago, you would say yes because it happened, and last year you would say no because you had a high-record team. That it's escaping me, but we debated that on the mock playoff special.
Florida A&M.
Was the Rattlers
both
right there?
years, I believe. Yeah, it's both years.
So, I guess, you know what? Here's your answer. This sucks to say, but it's reality. The rest of the FCS will decide. If you got a bunch of 6-loss teams and all this junk and everything else, then they'll get in. That's what happened 2 years ago. And last year, there wasn't enough bubble room. So, that's probably the answer.
Yeah, and how history is going to be looked at potentially there too is the teams that get in, they do get kind of gobsmacked. But if they deserve it, they should get in. I can see that if Florida A&M wins that game and Jackson State is otherwise unblemished, they might have a shot. But Jackson also does play Tuskegee, so you're going to have that non-D1 game that's going to hurt them if it comes down to that. We're talking playoff resume. But Jackson State has
episode 1 playoff resume. Here we go.
It's going to be what happens in week 1 is just as important. What happens in week 12 when you talk about the resume. So we're going to start talking about it right up the top. I do expect Jackson has their eyes on the Celebration Bowl and not what they would call a consolation prize of an FCS playoff berth to play on Thanksgiving there.
Fair doubt.
Next is a conference that won't be in this position next year. I would imagine they'll move up.
CAA. Oh,
they'll be. I said up. You didn't catch me saying that yet. But it is the Patriot League, and they already do get Richmond moving in. You'll see that I do not have Richmond ranked in my top 25, and really not close.
Yeah, that's surprising.
They lost a lot. Their quarterback and their 2 best receivers actually transferred about 2 hours west, a little bit north from there. So they're starting over a little bit on offense. They're always going to have a good defense, but Lehigh handled them in the playoffs. Lehigh looks like a really good team with Yoder and on that team there. So I think Lehigh is poised to really run the Patriot League again, kind of in the vein of what Colgate and Fordham did a few years ago, where you at Holy Cross. So you get real cyclical in the Patriot League. So you had Colgate's turn and then Fordham's turn where they were really good. And Holy Cross under Bob Chesney, of course, excellent head coach wherever he wound up. And Lehigh, I expect to have a really nice year. Richmond moves in this year. So we'll see how they do. Holy Cross still be decent, and then not much from there. Colgate and Fordham, as you can see, have really fallen off. Patriot League will also next year get Villanova and William & Mary. So this will be a fairly competitive league where you're going to be looking at 4 or 5 teams at least competing, and it could be a 2-bid league. It'd be a stretch in the future for them to be a 3-bid league, but you never know. But they are trying to be a serious football conference, unlike the one that they're taking teams from.
I mean, Lehigh they were 2-9, I think, 2 years ago or something like that. It's 2 or 3 wins. They were a horrible team just in 2023.
Last year, I had Lehigh starting the season as team ranked 123.
They were awful.
My biggest miss of the year.
It's a 100 gap difference.
Yeah, just about.
I mean, it's not like anybody else would have predicted things otherwise, but the fact that they get into the playoffs, win in the first round, and then go to Idaho, and I mean, it wasn't a very close game, but
no.
I don't think anyone would have seen that sort of rebound. So is there anybody here that you could even have a gut feeling could be this year's Lehigh? Maybe they're not going to win it like Lehigh should, like you're saying, but is there anybody here that it wouldn't shock you, Jamie? You got anybody that you would be high on?
I mean, if Richmond comes in here and dominates the Patriot League, I'm not going to say I would be super surprised. I just don't think they're quite as good as they were last year, based off graduations and transfers and stuff. But that's the nature of college football. Everybody's had that happen. But I mean, going from what the level of competition they've been playing, they've been playing some Patriot League teams. They've been playing CA football for many years. I wouldn't be shocked if they're better than I think they're going to be, but I'd still think Lehigh's the best team in this conference right now.
Well, Hero doesn't disagree with you. They got there's 13 place votes and 97 total points with those polling partners as the top team going into the season. So we'll have to see.
And that's where I just don't buy it. And this is where my assholeness comes out. Just no one on the East Coast is good. And I don't think anyone from the CA
are they most good in the Patriot League though. Most good.
But not a top 20 team. I mean, again, I think Richmond has a chance. I get, Lehigh beat them in the playoffs. Sometimes you overlook a bad team, or maybe the CA was just as bad as we all kind of thought. And maybe Lehigh is a CA caliber team, which is probably should be between 25 and 45 instead of really in the top 25, because that was Idaho's easiest game they played all year. Maybe outside of Albany, who, again, another East Coast shit team. So I just don't think anyone deserves to be in the top 25 from the Patriot, from the CA, from any of these East Coast. I'm going to be honest.
And that's the hard.
I'm going to promote the Bison here a little bit. 91st for Bucknell. Again, I'm going to go off Kyler's argument. Ralph Rucker, he's a senior quarterback. He had 25 touchdown passes last year.
Look at Matt name dropping. That guy's never done this in his life. He's prepping for this episode, guys.
Ralph is, dude, I'm prepped and ready. But,
Rucker's a good quarterback. He was actually third team All-American on the Blue Bloods All-American list. So, yeah, that's a good quarterback.
That could make a big difference in a league.
That could make a huge difference. Senior year coming in, like Matt's dead on. And Bucknell might be a team that's going to surprise some people.
And I'm not saying they're going to win the Patriot League, but maybe from now.
But if they do, you said it here first.
Yep. I called a Bison victory. Shocker.
Now, we have seen the Patriot League in the past get 2 bids from time to time, right? It's not a far-fetched idea. Now with the CA continuing to get worse and worse, is there a reality where this becomes a more common? Because I do believe what you said. The Patriot League is trying to do things the right way, right? They're trying to build a stronger conference where it looks like some of the other ones, which we will name soon, are going backwards. It looks like the Patriot League, and it's a promising, big old school brands, right? A lot of money. If you want a whole conference that has the most money outside of the Ivies, it's probably the Patriot League. They have money. And if they ever want to start, investing in their programs, look out. But I mean, these are old school programs that have a lot of history. Holy Cross, Lafayette, just tons of history. Fordham was up there. They were competitive for a while. Does this become a two-bid conference? Maybe not this year, but maybe in the next few years where we're just seeing it regularly as a two-bid and maybe stealing one from the old CAA. Does that kind of happen? Is that kind of what you're leaning towards?
Absolutely. Because if you think about what they're going to have next year, they'll have this group of teams plus Villanova plus William and Mary. And to me, Richmond, William and Mary, and Villanova, the profile of those schools actually fit the Patriot League group of schools. Maybe not from an athletic standpoint, but like from a money standpoint, just the prestige of the school itself. And, Richmond is football only, and so will Villanova be, because they play in other conferences. William and Mary, they're just picking up and moving everything. So that's going to be interesting there. But yeah, those three teams were historically three of the top 5 teams of the CAA over the last 20 years. They can't do anything but make Patriot
26 or 2027 when they're
26. Coming. They're coming next year.
Man, that completely changes the Patriot League for sure. That actually becomes a pretty, this is going to sound weird, but a pretty sexy little conference where you're going, all right, I'm going to actually probably watch some of these games.
You'll see Richmond, William and Mary, and Villanova for the first time because they will not be on Flow. So it's going to be really cool.
That will be cool.
Oh,
that's fair.
Solid. First flow diss of the year.
We got to get them in there. I mean, I'm excited for the Patriot League, where they're going starting this year and into the next 3 to 5 years. I definitely expect to see a lot of improvement from that league, and they could be one of those. We're going to get 2 bids every year. They could be Ohio Valley.
You guys remember Colgate, Jamie, right? I'm sure you remember Colgate.
Just the toothpaste.
The names in this conference, once you add Villanova, once you add William and Mary, then you have a Lehigh, a Richmond, a Holy Cross, a Georgetown, a Colgate, a Fordham. That's a pretty cool little conference.
Georgetown was a basketball slip up there. That's okay.
Yeah, and the geography is nice there. The geography really helps. Like William and Mary is the most southern team.
And they better have a giant rivalry day with the Ivy League. I know they already play the Ivy League a lot, but this can be just a Ivy League versus Patriot League, just a nationwide battle where everyone's tuning in to watch these types of like Summit League versus Big Sky.
Yeah.
I think that could be pretty cool. There's just a historic rivalries in some of these programs.
Yep. Yeah, that would be something they could really lean into, especially with the Ivies being playoff eligible. Playoffs. It would help boost the profile of any of these teams if they could get into something like that and pull a win like that to their resume. Absolutely. Any other thoughts on our friends at the Patriot League here?
No, just they're the most patriotic. It's a good looking logo.
America. It is.
Go America.
America. The League of America. All right. Next, we have the Southland. I'm going to put a little asterisk by this. And the reason I'm putting the asterisk is because they've got number 127 and 128. And 128 is always the new team. So welcome to the FCS. UT. Oh, I put UR. What an idiot. UT Rio Grande Valley, the Vaqueros. You can see I didn't edit this at all. Pretend that R is a T. So must have been thinking about Richmond for some reason.
Jamie, it's fine. I posted them for the team series, which is running on our Facebook and Twitter pages, and I put their school colors wrong. Some guy was like, "That's definitely not orange," and I was like, "Oh crap!" So you know what?
Honestly, I thought it was orange.
They're new and we're learning.
That's right. That stadium is pretty nice looking down there.
Nice. Most people, if you're not from like the Texas area, that is going to be a fantastic team to be excited about. The fans are going to be wild. There's not another program that's Division I or FCS for 4 hours, and it's in that area. There's a population of like 1.5 million, 2 million people.
Cheapers.
So if you want to see like some fans that haven't watched football, they don't have no sports down there. That could be a rowdy, fun program that can build up extremely fast. Beautiful facilities already, new, energetic. I think good luck, Southland. I'm not saying they're going to jump up, right away and be an incarnate word, but that could be a program where if you're Houston Christian, good luck. They could it's a fun little program that I hope in the next 5 years is just going to build something pretty dang special.
Yeah. And the other at 127, I can't put Northwestern State anywhere but there right now. I think McCorkle's doing something to get that program back on track, but it's going to take time. So, without any real insider information, Northwestern State, I don't see much from them. But if you look at the top 5 of this conference, it's solid with one really, really good team. I do have the Fighting Revs of Stephen F. Austin ranked. Vidlac is back. People hated that transfer acquisition from Montana, but Vidlac's on the watch list for the Walter Payton for good reason. I do think SFA has a chance. I'm not going to put them up in the top 10 or 15 like I did a few years ago when I overbought their hype. But Colby Carthel, this is the year he's got to do it or not do it. Southeastern and Lamar, I think both have solid teams that could jump up and honestly even beat Incarnate Word. McNeese, they're throwing a bunch of money at it. So the top part of this conference, I think, is solid. I do think we're looking at a 2-bid Southland this year. It's going to be a good league. It's got a really good commissioner. Looks like PK Subban, but he's a really involved commissioner. Chris Grant seems like a really, really good guy. I know Rev and the guys from the Triumvirate really speak very highly of him, as does McKinnell. So I trust their opinions very much. Looking forward to Southland. And before I turn it over to you guys, remember to look out for the Southland sermon with the Rev. I believe the first episode will be recording on the 14th. I know for sure he's looking to have Sam Herder and Zach McKinnell, and I might even pop in on the first episode. So look out for the sermon this year and praise the Southland. What do you guys see here? Anything you like, don't like, thoughts, comments here?
I think most of it's pretty dang accurate. But I've kind of, when you said a 2-bid, I mean, it all depends. I haven't dove into who their out of conference games are, but they got to win them. I mean, that's the reality because you don't get a lot of love in the Southland right now. I do think that the Southland is exciting. I do think they are moving in the right direction. But my question was, Colby, because, SFA, is this his hot seat year? And the reason why I'm asking is prior to him coming there, SFA didn't really have real expectations. I mean, we can be honest. It was Sam Houston State. They were the golden child. Then you had McNeese from time to time, Nichols, Sela, those type of programs where you're like, all right. And SFA was just kind of in the rear view. They're a basketball school. It is what it is. It's pretty cool that they're a basketball school. And Rev would say a bowling school, but that doesn't matter. But to me, SFA the last few years has resembled a UCA without even the success of a UCA, and they haven't been that successful, but it's SFA has all the talent in the world. You see it with the portal. You see them leaving, going big-time FBS programs, getting NFL invites. I mean, this is a team that has a lot of talent on this roster, yet they just don't quite seem to hit their stride. And they're kind of on that cusp where you're like, all right, they could probably be a low-tier playoff team, but also they could probably lose to anyone in the playoffs. And they just haven't really put it together, but they have the talent to compete with pretty much anyone outside of the top 8. But again, are they going to be able to put it together? And if they don't, are they saying bye-bye to Colby? Because even him, he's put probably the most heat on SFA that they have seen in the last 20 years since maybe that run in 1997 or whatever. But dude, that's kind of my question in a nutshell. I don't know.
Tyler, I'm with you. Listen to this. It's 7-5 last year. You look at Stephen F. Austin, got them number 25th. So they're a fun one to analyze as we go through Jamie's rankings here. First off, really like your rankings, Jamie. Yeah,
this one's solid.
This one where I look at it, I'm like, love it. I love Lamar at 48 because it's a question mark. You have a quarterback, 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions last year with 2 really good wideouts coming back with him. And it's like, okay, that feels to me like Southland offense that will compete but fall flat. So that 48 range, I really like it. Now, when you look at Stephen F. Austin, this was really interesting. It's Sports Illustrated that gives you this info. But Sam, their quarterback last year, 27 passing touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And then
pretty damn good.
Mr. Harris at wide receiver, 1,000 yards, 11 yards a catch, 87 receptions. Okay, returning significant contributors. This is cool. SI kind of broke this whole thing down. If a coach can't get this done, quarterback, they just give a number next to it for contributors: quarterback 1, running back 2, wide receiver 5, tight end 0, O-line 5, defensive tackle 4, edge 2, linebacker 3, safety 0, cornerbacks 2. That's a lot of returning good talent. And then you break into the article a little more, it really talks about it. Defensive end, defensive tackles, 50, 47 tackle guys. I mean, this is a team that they should make the playoffs. I'm not calling a title contender. I'm not going to go Final Four. Remember, we did that one year. I think it was Jamie and I, all semifinal bound for SFA. But
that's when you guys are wild.
Dude, I'm with Tyler on this from a preseason expectation standpoint of, especially coming off a 7-5 record last year, that team has to improve. And notable offseason additions, there's probably 13 transfer names on here, all the way from Houston to West Virginia. That team's got to get it done. So, wanted to expand on
talent too.
The thing that's going to hurt SFA is they play Houston. That's an FBS game, but then they play something called Sul Ross. What the hell is that? That's like playing American University. So they're going to have to beat. They're going to have to beat Abilene Christian. Absolutely going to have to, or win the Southland, which they could do. I don't know. Let's see. They got to go to Incarnate Word, but that's going to be a hell of a football game. So I like SFA, but we're going to find out early about them because that Sul Ross game is going to hurt them. I don't think they beat Houston. So they got to beat Abilene Christian because that's going to be something to look at when you get towards that bubble. If they don't win the conference, they're going to be talked at with Abilene Christian, probably close to that bubble, and whoever wins that game is going to have a leg up. I hate to say, like, we laugh about talking playoff resume and playoffs before they've even put the football down, but that's the reality of it.
It's going to be hard for Incarnate Word to win an at-large when Eastern beats them, because the Eastern will finish last in the Big Sky. So there you go, buddy.
Well,
I got to tell you though, with Incarnate Word, I think this is interesting, and I'm just article scanning here, and I don't care, but I was reading this prior to our podcast, of course. I'm shocked at how their defense is probably the reason they are so high. You would just think it's
it was really good last year.
It's not just Jalen Walthall and et cetera on offense. It's
100%. I'll go down this significant contributor.
Yeah, their D line is good.
D tackles 3, edge 2, linebacker 1, safety 1, cornerback 4. But the significant contributors on the offensive side, there is a total of 6 according to Sports Illustrated. So it's way lower on the offensive side than the defensive side. And you'd like to think they're just going to get the defense or the offense figured out because it's Incarnate Word. Going to be interesting. Southland's going to be fun. I love the rankings here, Jamie. I'll wrap it with that. And I'm excited to watch this conference play out.
One big out-of-conference game for the Southland, September 20th, Incarnate Word at the Walk-Up Sky Dome at Northern Arizona.
Yeah.
Why is that the big one? You want them to go
because it's in the Big Sky.
1-1 in the Big Sky? Eastern's playing them on the 30th. I'll be there. That's the biggest one.
That's the biggest one ever.
Let's go.
How funny is it going to be for Incarnate Word fans when Eastern comes out there winning?
That would be less than ideal for them.
Less than ideal.
So, got them as 8th ranked conference with a big time asterisk on the bottom two, because if you take those two out, they're a top 5 conference.
That's fair.
At 7, we have the Big South OVC, and the two Big South teams hold them down. You're probably surprised to see Tennessee Tech ranked and this high above the teams like Martin and SEMO, who have been good the last couple of years. But Tennessee Tech is that team on the rise, and you could just see it. Bobby Wilder, really good coach, used to coach at Old Dominion back in the early 2010s timeframe when they started their program. Coached a guy named Taylor Heineke, who's in the NFL. And now he's got a quarterback that just transferred in, solid guy you may have heard of, named Kiko Vesperis. That will be his quarterback this year. I really, really like this Tennessee Tech team. Don't love a whole lot else about any of these teams, although UT Martin's been pretty good. SEMO's been pretty good. Tennessee State, Eddie George moved on.
Yeah,
Barlow took over there. I don't know what to expect from them, so I put a big drop on them. Could wind up wrong, and maybe they're still going to be decent. They earned that playoff bid last year, but I think it's another team in Tennessee that's a team from the Big South this year, led by Kikoa.
Yeah, I like the first three teams. Kikoa, will he be as efficient as he was at Eastern? Probably not. Just because he also only played like half the game. So, you kind of take him out on all third downs. I wonder if he would have made some mistakes on third downs. But it's pretty cool. You see, not an All-American, but a guy at least getting votes from the Big Sky, going to in a top-tier quarterback school, going to Tennessee Tech. That was a shock that probably no one saw. But I like UT Martin. They seem to always be, a decent team, always in the playoff hunt. But my curious thought is, because there's a big gap between those first three and then the rest, but like Lindenwood, okay, so still a fairly new FCS program. They started getting a little bit of traction at the end of last year, if I remember. I could be completely wrong. You're like, no, Kyler, they lost the last three. But I remember like Lindenwood kind of being a little down, but they were streaky, and they had some competitive games. They beat a team. I forgot who it was. UCA? Was it?
Yeah, Central Arkansas.
Okay.
Yep.
Gosh, my memory's actually not.
Look at you, man. You've been taking your Ginkgo biloba.
Oh, is that Zach
off.
McKinnell? Is that Zach
there we
McKinnell
go.
over there?
Phone's off, baby.
It wasn't. I don't think it was last year that they beat Central Arkansas. I think it was 2 years
maybe
ago.
I was wrong. Okay, well then who cares?
But either way,
we'll edit that out. No, but they were streaky, and they just reminded me of a team that's going to continue to grind up and continue to flourish and grow throughout the FCS. What's your thoughts on Lindenwood?
Just a mid-pack team. It was last year they beat SEMO, which is huge.
The playoff team.
Yeah,
so
it's huge.
Wrong.
I mean, they beat them.
My phone's off.
Yeah. So
that was a big win because that stopped SEMO from going to the playoffs, basically.
Yeah, it really did. It kept them from winning the conference. I think Lindenwood's a team to keep an eye on. A newer team, just a few years in.
They're a riser, but not high enough to compete actually for the title. Probably they play at App State and Miami, Ohio, so they got two FBS opponents.
A couple of bye games, so.
But I'll give that to you, Kyler. Just like they're a newer team, so to even be up in those 70s is impressive.
But they've jumped up and beat somebody decent the last couple of years, so
a ranked team.
You can see the bones are there.
And the last thing I'll say, and I want to give a little bit of respect to, most of the conferences we've talked about. I still appreciate how close all of these regions are. Like it's the old school football, like the Southland. It's all Texas, all Louisiana. That is still really cool to see, and I miss those days. I just want to give a shout out when I see all these, tons of Tennessee schools, right? Missouri schools, and then a couple Carolinas. That's still a tight-knit region. It's cool to see. I miss those days.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's a good partnership between these two conferences. Because you'll got Gardner-Webb and Charleston Southern. Those are the only two big South football teams remaining. Everybody else moved on, so they had to do something in the changing landscape of football. So it's a good partnership. Those teams are kind of on the same plane, so they'll be competitive there. But yeah, I'll look for Tennessee Tech to have a real nice year. Be interested to see how many other voters have them in the top 25 when this poll comes out Monday the 4th. Number 6. This is interesting because I may be way low on this because I don't know. We'll see. The Ivy League will actually participate in the playoffs this year. I have Harvard ranked. I like Harvard. Dartmouth, I think, is a rankable team. Then you'll see they got a couple of dogs at the bottom, but solid from the middle on up. Solid, good conference. And I think we've all said at one point in time or another that if they wanted to be real serious about it, that 17 could turn into a 7 real fast.
Harvard, number 23 in Heroes preseason sports.
It's fair.
Poll. You got him up at 17, Jamie. Just got a little bit more confidence in him or what?
A little bit, yeah. So just to toot some horns or whatever, the Heroes sports preseason poll, I believe, was Sam, Zach, Kevin, and myself. I think that was the 4. So it was 4 of us. But yeah,
honestly, that's all the nation. That's all the nation needs, probably.
So we'll see how. I mean, and my rankings have changed a lot since I submitted that to Sam. I know Sam and Zach's rankings have changed a decent amount since then too, with more learning and research. Just talking to them because we did put that poll out about a month ago, and then a lot of the movement still happened, a lot of discussions and seeing what was going on, a little bit of starts of camps. But I think Harvard is a rankable team. If you've got them at 17, maybe I'm too high on them. We'll find out if I'm too high on anybody else or too low.
I think the last couple of years, maybe the Ivy League was down compared to what it was historically, but I also feel like the Ivy League has gotten a lot of flack and unfair when it comes to voting. There's people who vote in the national poll who literally frequently admit, hey, they don't play in the playoffs, I'm not going to include them in a vote. And I think that's a little unfair because they are the FCS. And I think most of these years, this is a two-bid conference. Now, like Jamie just said, if this is that one conference where if they want to start to flex, good luck, FCS. They can beat you in recruiting with just, hey, come to our school. We're a better school. They could beat you in money. They could buy the FCS and turn it into their ping pong room, like Mark Zuckerberg in that one movie, right? So I'm excited to finally see the Ivy League come to life. This is what we've all been waiting for. I truly believe that this is going to bring some eyeballs from, maybe non-FCS fans. These are all programs everyone in the world knows. It's not just, maybe they don't know about Harvard football. Every single person in the world who is educated knows about these schools, and most people want to go to those schools when they're a kid, but you can't ever get into them because we're all not smart enough and we don't have the right money. So I'm super pumped to see the Ivy Leagues finally put their money where their mouth is. Stop complaining about, we care about academics more when you play the lacrosse national championship. This is cool. I'm excited. They play March Madness, and there's always upsets with the Ivy League. So this is, again, a program and a conference where if they decide to invest in football, we're going to see drastic changes in the upcoming years with these teams. They can out-recruit everyone if they really wanted. I'm super pumped.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely one of those that hedge on the side of under-ranking them because they just stayed in their own little bubble. I feel like with them entering the playoff picture, I have shifted everybody almost up just because they're a full part of everything. So, the MEAC and the SWAC, they play for the Celebration Bowl, but you still could get in the playoffs. So I kind of had them like in a different type of category. I was definitely one of those that made it was much harder for me to rank an Ivy. Now it's not because it's just any other team in any other conference, and they might whip anybody, and people might find out real fast what this league is about. So I have a feeling all of these rankings were going to wind up going up, and the Ivy has a chance to be a top 3 to 4 league.
This was even before NIL. Mm-hmm. Princeton was getting 4-star quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right. Before we thought the FCS could get these types of caliber players with, Travis Hunter, it was Ivy League can flex whenever they want to flex. And it's just, are they going to? And that's the big question. Are they going to flex, or are they going to view this as JV football and not care?
It's going to be interesting. Columbia, not, 45th. Is that kind of do you actually feel that's their range, or is it because they got their first Ivy League title since like the 1960s or something? I know it was like co-share and everything, or, what's your gut tell you? Like Harvard takes a they had one more win last year than Columbia, but they got this big jump in love. I know they have a lot of returning starters, offense, defense. Is that really the thing? Looking forward, not looking back?
Yeah, pretty much. I like what Harvard has. Dartmouth's been more solid. Columbia, it was kind of a bounce year. So I hedged a little bit on them. Otherwise, you could see them in round 35. So I hedged a little bit that they come back to earth a little bit versus what they did last year. But we'll see. It's going to be a good league. It's going to be fun. They're not going to be anybody's whipping post. Even, Brown and Princeton, they're not very good. But maybe they'll give somebody a fight. But everybody's got to rank somewhere. So those will be some of the worst teams, and they got a chance to have they got a chance to potentially get a couple in the playoffs. It opens it up, that's for sure.
Sounds good. Should be fun.
Well, speaking of fun, anybody hungry?
Taco King, coming to you from bright and sunny Fargo, North Dakota. It's time for a taco bet, and time for you losers to pay up.
All right, we can't let the first ep of the year go by without a taco bet. So we're going to do a little over-under. Last year, 11 of the 25 teams in my initial ranking finished in the top 25. That's down from 13 the year before, so not as good. 5 of the initial top 10 finished in the top 10. That's kind of a cop-out because it was Dakotas and Montanas all over the place. But go me. So for this year, We got 2 to start. Over or under 13.5 of the top 25 will end the season there, and over under 6.5 of the 10 in the season in the top 10. What
Are
do
we
you
taking
think?
the real polls or like
Mine.
Sam Herder's poll? Your poll. I haven't
Mine.
even seen your poll.
You'll get there. Just whether you trust me or not.
That makes it tough because I want to trust you, but at the same time, I'm sure there's some things because I've already seen it where you're ranking Lehigh way too damn high. So I don't know.
13.5. So
Matt,
do
I'll
I
let
do
you go first.
better
I'm gonna
than
cop
last
out.
year?
I'm just gonna pick opposite of Matt because he lost the most bets last year. So I'm gonna cop
13
out.
and a half of the teams in this top 25 and the season in the top 25. I will go. Everybody is promoting this as one of the most chaotic seasons ever. They always say it, but like this one actually has a lot of turnover. So I think there will be quite a bit of chaos. So I will go with the under there. I think less than 13 and a half of those teams are going to be in the top 25 by the end of it, just because it's going to be a little crazy. Over under 6.5 of the top 10 and the season in the top 10. Ooh, I kind of feel North Dakota State, South Dakota State, South Dakota. There will be, you get a Montana in there. Oh, that's a good one. Shoot. Can I wait on that one? Can I wait for that one? 6.5. I need to see that one. That one I need to see.
We can circle back to it at the end when I show you the top 25.
There we go.
I'll give you that first one. I'm going to go under for the 13.5. I think it gets crazy up in those top ranges, but I got to see the top 10 for that last one. That's a good set.
Yeah, I think under is probably fair. I mean, to get 14 out of 25 would be pretty damn good.
That's tough.
No, I have faith in you, Jamie. I think you're actually going to do 13.5 because there's one team that's going to be on the coaches poll that won't be on the real poll, and I'll count that. So
and that's what I'm going to hit.
Yep. So I think 13.5 is perfect.
There we go.
He goes with the push.
So speaking of not perfect, we'll go to
my favorite conference.
Our number 5 ranked conference.
Yes.
It's the
CAA. Best conference. Do it the right way. Only adding power. Want to stay historic. Man, I love what the CAA is doing.
Okay, we could spend hours talking CAA. And
I'm so excited. Can that be next week? It's just a CAA podcast.
We could do that.
Plenty of time to do it. I want to know about Rhode Island. Excited. I really do. I'll be honest, I haven't looked into Rhode Island. I hear all the preseason hype. Tell me why top 10, number 7. Right
because I really like 1 through 4, and I don't think anybody deserves to be 5 through about 12 or 13, and somebody has to be there so they get to be number 7. But I really do. I think Rhode Island's going to have a really good offense. Got a quarterback, got a couple of receivers coming back. They got AJ Pena on the defensive side of the ball, who is a menace. Had actually transferred out and then transferred back in. One of the teams I made a big adjustment on after my first draft was Villanova. Had them pretty high, and then you really look into it, and I don't see them nearly as good. The team I've got highlighted here is Monmouth. They've got Derek Robinson at quarterback, who's going to be one of the favorites for the Walter Payton Awards because he's going to sling it around the yard. I know Sam Herder's really, really high on Monmouth. I know he's going to have them in his top 25. I can't do it just because I need to see them play some defense. I don't think – I think the CAA here is exactly what they're – a bunch of teams that are between 20 and 50, if they're even there. Like, I'm probably too high on Elon, for instance. Towson, good coaching staff. We'll see. Stony Brook was Coach Kosh that first year of Flash in the Pan. They do have Roland Dempster. But I really like Rhode Island. I'm not sure they're actually a quarterfinal team based off what this ranking shows. But like I said, I don't like anybody from about 5 to 12 to actually be 5 to 12. If I really, or maybe 6, somewhere in that range. I just don't, I didn't know what to do. So I damn near threw darts at it. So I don't like where my top 25 wound up in that range. Fell into place from there, but I think there's such big separation from the top 5-ish to everybody else that it was tough. But you could just look at the CAA and just the teams that they've added over the last 5 years, and then they're going to add Sacred Heart. They might as well just freaking add Merrimack too. and just be a dumpster fire of a full proportion. This conference sucks. I mean, it lost its top 5 teams historically after this year. If you think about what they've lost since 2021, and they've replaced them with nothing, and the conference presidents continue to approve these teams. I don't get it.
The only addition that was like promising at the time was NCA&T. That actually made sense. They were dominating the MEAC. It made sense. Now they just haven't proven it, and they've been horrible in the CA. So that's a whole different discussion. But that's the only one that made sense when they were adding. Now, here's my hot take. For one, I think the Southland is better than the CA.
I do too.
I would bet the top 5 from the Southland, if you paired them with the top 5 from here, would go 5-0. I truly believe that. I don't think Monmouth is good. Eastern played them, and we were awful, and we made them look like an AIA team. It was not very competitive.
If you take the 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2 all the way down, each of those teams, Villanova versus SFA would be close. I would think everything else.
I would, but we would all bet on SFA probably, right?
Yeah,
I would take SFA in that matchup head to head.
I wouldn't hate it. It's close, but yeah, I think collectively the top of the Southland is significantly better than the top of the CAA.
And it's not like the bottom's great, but here's with Rhode Island. I just looked at their schedule. I just took a quick peek. They have a chance, even with their FBS team. It's not like that great of an FBS program. It's Western Michigan. If Rhode Island is a top 10 team, they have a chance, and they probably should run the table and go 12-0. Maybe 11-1 with that Western Michigan loss. So if they are a top 10 team and want to have, a top 8 seed, I almost think looking at the schedule that they need to run the table. CA fans are going to think that's an unfair take, but my opinion, looking at that strength schedule, they need to run it. There's no one good on that program. I mean, there's no one good in the conference. There's no one good on that schedule. Now, I'm rooting for Rhode Island. I think they were a cool story being so historically bad, and then they're on the rise the last few years. They got to the playoffs. I mean, I'm rooting for them, but I don't know. I think just the CA sucks.
It does, and
it's so funny.
You've also talked more brutal about the CAA, but I mean, I see. Is this an indictment on the FCS? Because I mean, we just talked about Lindenwood for 4 minutes, and I see 7 top 50 teams and 2 in the top 25. So it's like, is the FCS just that bad? Because we just, what are the?
I think Lindenwood beat some of those teams.
You think Lindenwood beat these teams? Okay, well, you got 28 of 35. Right New Hampshire's a historical program, I don't know.
I mean, New Hampshire.
Maybe it's recency bias. Maybe it rebounds.
Could be.
I mean, has the potential to go back to what they were. I hope so. That was a proud, powerful program. Most consistent, basically your Sweet 16s, right? They were in the quarters every single year.
Yep.
I mean, New Hampshire is going to be the power of that conference with Monmouth. Yep. I mean, that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, and I think New Hampshire has a chance to be better than 36.
I hope so.
Definitely see
They're a cool program to root for. We all love the Wildcats.
Just to back up the point that you made, Kyler, New Hampshire on the CAA schedule of Rhode Island is the highest ranked of this teams in my ranking. That
you
Rhode Island
run the
plays.
Table if you want a top 8 seed.
There's no excuse whatsoever. Yeah, I just I'm probably too high on some of these teams, but this is another one where you see a big cluster. You got a 27 and 28, and you got 35, 36, 38, and 79 and 80. Just because I think those teams are close together, and then just to kind of slot them in, that Townsend was a team I moved up quite a bit, just because I think they've got a solid coaching staff and they got a veteran team. So I think they got a chance to show a little bit more. Stony Brook is a wait and see. I wanted to rank them instead of like Villanova or Monmouth, but again, flash in the pan, they probably too high.
Do you think?
We'll see.
And I have a question for you guys because again, I think people still like we saw it in the playoffs. The last few years, the CA is still getting extra love, probably compared to what they deserve. Do you think when it's a preseason ranking, we will see 3+ teams, maybe 4 teams ranked from the CA? Is that a reality?
I think 3 is probably potential. I think the top 2 are definitely going to be ranked there. Because again, Villanova. Because I'm thinking
really go out on a limb to replace them. So I'm going to say yes.
I think Monmouth
you got to
might sneak in.
Yeah, I think you got to really go out on a limb to find teams to replace them. I mean, you have to have Zach McKinnell knowledge across the voter base to be like, actually, this team. There will be a lot of name drops there. Even me. I mean, I'm the least knowledgeable of everyone on this podcast and probably the whole network. But I see some of these teams, and it shocks me to see them where they're at.
Names, yeah,
their names, and I think that will affect the voting.
Yeah. And I definitely think we're going to see Monmouth in there. Sam and I have talked about Monmouth a lot this offseason. He really likes them. I just want to see them play defense. I just
good wide receivers, good quarterback. But again, Eastern had a bad defense, and it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a lot of turnovers. That's what helped, but still.
Well, there's going to be 13 other weeks where we can hammer the CAA. So let's move on to a conference that I think is on the rise again, and would like to see a lot more from.
About time. We're talking about a decent conference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you'll see, I've got 3 SoCon teams ranked. And I really, really, really like East Tennessee State. Yeah. I'm probably going to be higher on them than most other people in the rankings.
Why?
I just, from what I've seen, a lot of people have them lower. They've gotten Will Healy's the coach there now, and I think he's a better coach than Trey Lamb. I really like Will Healy. They got Jacoby Criswell and Cade McNamara both to come to town. We'll see how the quarterback situation works out. I just think that team is loaded for bear. Going to be a good team. I've actually had Mercer up in the top 7 until my edits after talking to some SoCon people that we interact with and that I interact with, and talking to Zach, talking to Sam. It's like they're not as high on Mercer, but Andrew Zock might be the favorite for the Buck Buchanan.
Okay.
So that defense, I think, is still good. I don't love their quarterback play. That's got to improve a lot. We saw that defense carry them last year, and if you can score on them a little bit, then you can beat them. Western Carolina returns a lot. Got a good quarterback that played the last few games after Cole Gonzalez went down, got a good running back. They've got to be there this year. There's no excuse for Western Carolina this year. Don't love Chattanooga.
That was going to be my question, because that's a hot team name. Everyone knows Chattanooga. They've kind of always been on that cusp where it seems like in the preseason, when you're talking about who's going to make the playoffs from the SoCon, Chattanooga's always on like that last team in, last team out bubble, especially in the last few years. So that's a big drop off from 19 to 44.
Yeah. And I think it's probably warranted. I had Chattanooga in the low 30s, and then and talking to people, they lost a lot and just
interesting. Okay.
Are not very confident in Chattanooga at all. The Citadel, the Big Blue Machine, as Kevin calls them, should have a better season this year. And this is going to reflect that. Furman, I initially had in the 70s, but they've got some. It's got some guys. They're not going to be that seeded team that they were a few years ago, but a little bit better than last year. But yeah, real solid. And if you didn't have VMI as an anchor down there, this would be the 3rd ranked conference. But really excited about the top of the SoCon. Love East Tennessee State. Really like Western Carolina. Expect Mercer to be good. So looking for 3 playoff teams and East Tennessee State to really scare some people.
And then my last question, I'll let Matt ask something because I know he's brewing. So sorry, Matt.
No, I'm looking at I have no comments. That was that was the best breakdown. That was a great breakdown. That was fun to listen to.
So the SoCon, of course, they always have some chaos, and it kills their playoff bids. And you see it with this ranking too, like 11 through 66. That all means you can beat anyone. There's no that elite team. Maybe Mercer was last year. They were a pretty damn good team. Again, you talked about their flaws. But then you have only VMI, who's probably not going to be competitive with most of these programs. Do we have another chaotic end where you have 3 to 4 SoCon teams that are playoff worthy, that they're deserving, and they should make it over some of these CAA teams, but then the last week chaos ensues, and now they're all screwed because all these teams are really competitive. They're decent teams to good teams. No one's really that awful, and no one's really that amazing.
Yeah, I definitely think somebody between like the Citadel and Sanford down there is going to give a black eye to one of those top 3 teams. I don't know who is going to do the beating and who's going to take the beating. but I have a feeling that's going to happen, and it's going to hurt them. But that's why we love the SoCon, because it happens every
makes
year.
It fun. It is just a bummer because I do think the last few years there's probably a couple SoCon teams, and I get it when we look at resume, we have to be just non-biased, and most of us go, yeah, unfortunately they just didn't make the cut. But we all know there were some SoCon teams that were better than some of the at-larges who have got it. It's that's how the resumes swing. But yeah, I want the SoCon to bring in more. I think they can create a little more chaos. They typically play decent and tough. I just want the SoCon to make that step forward, like we keep preaching every year. They just need to make that one more shot, beat a quarterfinal team, but maybe also get another team in there. Don't lose to a Samford when you're not supposed to.
Yeah. It's hard. And we give Kevin a lot of hell, but I don't hate his take about playing everybody, because
we all wish
what makes this stuff fun. I wish the conferences were like that. And maybe he'll listen to this and say, see, I knew you always supported me, and I do, but it's more fun to argue with him. But you want to see that chaos.
It's way more fun to troll.
Oh, but for sure.
That's every single one of us would admit, if we had our ideal scenario, not to just benefit our own teams, but it is more fun to have a smaller conference where you play everyone, you know everyone. Because Matt doesn't have to worry because he's always the national title, and Jamie recently, right, pretty damn good. But it does suck when you have an undeserving team from your own conference get a bid when you go, that team sucks, and they just avoided everyone. Yep. NAU every time they play. Yep. So again, I wish everyone followed the SoCon model. It's just not the reality. It's not going to happen. People aren't going to do it. But I wish they would. Happen. It's more fun.
Yep, much more fun. Looking forward to a really good SoCon season. Another very nice geography for a conference. So
Matt, where's Furman? Where are they going, brother?
3-8 last year. Oh man, you know what?
Or is it Wofford? Which one do you love?
Well, I do love Wofford quietly. French Bulldog. I might want to get one of those. That's not a Frenchie, is it? Yeah, it might be. It's a terrier.
Boston Terrier. Yeah,
it's a terrier.
Furman, 3-8 last year. That proves one thing: they're going to improve. They're going to improve.
Well, we're going to find out real quick which middling team is going to have a shot. Furman plays William & Mary week 1 at Furman.
There we go.
Furman, so we'll see which bubble team will stay on the bubble and who will burst right away. All right, so that was your 4th ranked conference. Interestingly enough, the number 3 conference is not the Big Sky; it's the United Athletic Conference.
Yeah, good fun conference.
Another fun conference with a lot of solid teams. It kind of looks like the SoCon. You got a team way at the top, Tarleton. They bring back Victor Gabalis. What?
I need to interrupt you. You said all new teams start at 128.
Yep.
West Georgia?
They were new last year.
Shit. See, I don't even remember them. I thought they were new this year.
No, they were new last year.
Did they get just smacked around last year? Or mostly,
I think they beat somebody. Who did they beat? I want to say they beat somebody.
Man,
that's conference that they weren't expecting to. I'm going to look it up now.
Clapped back at me real fast and went, "You knucklehead!"
Damn right.
I'm excited to hear this Tarleton State breakdown because the love for Tarleton State is huge. So I'm excited to hear the reasonings behind their greatness, or what should be their greatness.
They didn't really beat anybody last year. West Georgia, Tarleton. They lose Kayvon Britton. They lose receiver, their top receiver, but their second, I think their number 2 receiver's back. But the biggest thing is Victor Gabalis is back. And he's a straw that stirs a drink there. I think Tarleton, I was way low, much lower than most on them last year. I've got them at 8 this year. I think they're pretty good, pretty clearly the best team in this conference. But then you can see we've got one of those groupings again that we talk about. I got 22, 23, and 24 all from the same conference. Abilene Christian is one that I've got highlighted. Maverick McIver's moved on. I think he's at Western Kentucky. But Abilene always does a good job of pulling people in. They brought back Stone Earl, who was their quarterback a few years ago, and then has come back to work there. Eastern Kentucky, another solid team, made the playoffs last year with a great late run. Southern Utah, I hope they can make the playoffs this year. You know, I'm still going to stay on that bandwagon. I got them at 24.
That's your Furman.
Hey, until coach goes somewhere else, and then I'll root for that team.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm going to support my guy. I think 24 is probably fair for them. Bronson Barron comes back at quarterback, so he does have a returner there. Got some good receivers. Shane Carr comes back. They've got Lando Brown on the defensive line. I probably am going to get smacked for saying his name because we're trying to keep it quiet, but he's getting too many accolades as it is, so he's already going to be double teamed. But yeah, I know a little bit more about that team just because I talk to Coach Fitzgerald frequently, so obviously I'm going to root for Southern Utah, but I definitely think those top three teams there are good. I've got four ranked teams in that conference. Central Arkansas, I'm off that bandwagon. I'm not ranking them until Nathan Brown can prove he can do it. But they've had a lot of guys move on, so a lot of turnover there, so we'll see what that's all about. And then Austin P, again, just kind of that middle team, and then you've got the bottom. Brett Dearman at North Alabama. He'll jump up and beat somebody. But this is going to be a really fun conference again. Had a good battle to the end last year with those top four teams where a couple plays go a couple different ways, and it's completely different. But good football is played at the United Athletic Conference, and I'm looking forward to it. But, yeah, I think Tarleton is heads and shoulders above the rest, and then those other three teams. But, yeah, Southern Utah, they're getting a taste of the Big Sky right away. That
they're going to finish
where they're going. So they've got Idaho State, Northern Arizona, and Davis all this year. They get only one. I think they get two of them at home.
They'll win one of them.
They've got to beat. They can't lose to Idaho State again to go to the playoffs. If that found out last year, and then we'll see what they can do against the other two, and then on into conference. But I'm rooting for Southern Utah. I'm always going to. And if Coach moves on to somewhere else, or if he stays there for 10, 15 years, that's who I'll root for at that level.
Tarleton defensive line returns a veteran group and on their own athletic website, responsible for 29 turnovers, tied for third nationally last year. So they've got some pretty good guys coming back on the defensive side of the ball too. Again, lots of people talk offense. So, all right, I can see where that Tarleton love kind of comes from. So it's a good breakdown. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I like the top five placements. I really do. And again, I'm going to give you a little bit of crap for Southern Utah, but they were peaking at the right time last year. They were a decent program. I still stand by. I don't think they were good enough to be in the playoffs because, like you just said, you can't lose to Idaho State. That's pretty pathetic. But I actually like their placement right here. I probably wouldn't put them at 24 myself. I'd probably put them 30, but I'm not going to flack anyone if it's a 5, 6, 10. You don't know what's going to happen in the preseason.
And I don't expect them to be ranked.
Yeah, but they probably will. I wouldn't be shocked if I see them at 24 or 25. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't be shocked, and I wouldn't yell at voters if they did that. I just don't think they're there. Where I'm going to yell at you a little bit, and I'm more curious about this, I think all of 52 through 114, you're given a little grace. And I think all of them should be pushed back. West Georgia, looking at them last year, because I didn't even know they played. That's how bad they were. Their only wins were Utah Tech, who should be maybe the very last team outside of a Pioneer. And so you maybe have them in the right place. And then they beat Samford.
Yep.
Which Samford was awful too.
Yeah.
And then they beat 2 D2 or D3 schools. I don't know. I don't know if they're
that's probably high.
Almost FCS team already. And I don't think North Alabama, they were starting to finally piece it together, but North Alabama, pretty historic program. They've struggled since they've been here. And finally last year they had some wins. So maybe 64 is not that bad. But again, I actually don't think Austin P through Utah Tech are top half in the FCS teams. And I know some of them aren't by your ratings, but some of them are. I don't think they are. I think they all should be pushed back at least 10, each one of them.
Yeah, I think that's fair feedback. Probably a little high on a couple of those teams for sure. West Georgia for sure is probably maybe 20 spots too high. But yeah, you've seen it. There's a lot of Pioneer and NEC teams back there behind them, and they probably should be down with some of those because they are still in transition. Gave a little bit more credit than they probably should have had. So I think that's fair.
An Awesome Piece sucks.
That's the UAC ending comment.
Yeah.
Austin Piece sucks.
I think actually the Southland's better than the UAC. I'm standing by that. I think Southland's better.
Okay. I think their best team is, but I think I would like to see SFA against next year.
The bottom three in the Southland are pretty bad. So maybe I agree with you there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see, SFA. Well, we will see SFA against Abilene Christian. We're going to find that out real fast. The number 2
whoever
teams
wins that, yeah,
yeah,
that's a fun one. I'm glad
that's perfect.
they're
Yeah, they
top
play early.
20 programs playing each other early, both
Yeah.
from Texas. Little
Yeah.
rivalry. It's not a rivalry because there's too many damn teams here, but that's a fun one.
Yeah. So we'll find out real quick. All right. I guess hopefully people have hung on long enough because they want to see their team talked about, and we know where the majority of our viewership comes from. So let's go ahead and get there. Big Sky is the number 2 conference, but you can see I have 6 teams in the top 16 from the Big Sky. I've got 8 teams in the top 50. So, an average rank of what I've got there, 39.2-ish. Montana State, we'll see.
We're going to see right away.
I was listening to Zach's podcast, and that's one thing I did forget a little bit. Montana State returns so much of people who got significant playing time. Yeah, just not Tommy. That's it. So, and everyone else returns almost no one in the Big Sky. So I think they have a chance to run through stuff.
Yep, I do. I think I think they have shown over the last few years that they deserve this benefit of the doubt, even if people think they're a little down. I'm not sure they're going to not be. I think they will be number 2 when the poll comes out.
Did we feel that way about the Grizz last year, though, too? I kind of feel like we did.
I think I did.
They're going to be bringing them back, after they lost.
I think I did. But Montana, you see, I've got them right there at number 6. They're in that 5 to 12, 13 range that I don't love. Sacramento State, I'm high on them. There's a real dichotomy of Sacramento State, so it's going to be interesting to see where they wind up. I know a lot of people, it's like, they pulled in too many transfers. It's not going to gel. It's not going to work out. Jaden Rashada is going to be the quarterback, I think. I'm pretty high on Sac State. I gritted my teeth on UC Davis. I don't love them, but they're a well-coached team. You got to replace Hastings and Larison, but that's a good defense coming back. We'll see. Idaho, honestly,
they bring back a lot.
I still feel like are you talking about Davis or Idaho?
Idaho actually brings back more than most people are aware of.
Yeah, I just don't love Idaho this year, but I hope they prove me wrong. And then I've got Northern Arizona highlighted. I like the Lumberjacks this year. I think Ty Pennington is a really good quarterback. I think Northern Arizona has a chance to be really good. I could be blown out of the water. They could lose 3 non-conference games just the same because they got a solid out-of-conference schedule. I know they got Southern Utah and Incarnate Word. I don't know who else is on it, but that's pretty solid. And then nobody like Northern Colorado and Cal Poly, and they are what they are. And then you got Idaho State, Eastern, and Weber there in the middle. They're mid-range teams, but they'd also beat a lot of teams from lesser conferences. So
I think Idaho State's a bad take because even Eastern beat them 77-30 last year.
Yeah, well,
so I think
was one game.
I think Idaho State should not be around 40. I actually don't mind Eastern at 50. I'd probably switch those two. But actually, I'm more high on Idaho, and I'm not as high on NAU. I think NAU is a bust of a team, and they just the last few years have gotten by with a very ridiculously easy schedule. That's the reality. This year, I guess they will get challenged a little more, but isn't their Big Sky schedule still pretty easy? Again, I haven't dove in any of their schedules. So, but I think NAU is probably going to win 7 games, and I don't think that's good enough to be a top 25 team. I actually think Pennington sucks. So I know you said you like him. He's a Walter Payton
like him a lot.
favorite. Everyone loves him. He's got the most experience for QBs on this roster in the whole Big Sky right now. And again, he doesn't suck. He's solid and he's improving. But I'm not buying the NAU being a top 20 program. I'm just not. And again, Idaho State should be probably closer to Portland State than 43. That's a wild take. But I think Idaho might be a top 10 team. I think Joshua Wood is actually a better quarterback if it's a starting role than probably who they had last year. So that could be pretty fun to watch. But the rest of it's pretty solid. I just don't like 16 through 50.
Yeah, we'll see where that winds up. I mean, like I said, I'm higher on Northern Arizona than most people. I don't know. I tend
to. Can Northern Colorado be 150?
They could be, because you could put them in D2, where they belong. I tend to overrate teams. I think where I feel like I really like the coaching staff, and I think that's what we've got going on with Idaho State here.
That's right.
I know that's something that I do.
Cody Hawk, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I like Cody Hawkins a lot. I think that's a good coaching staff. So, yeah, you'll see me overrate teams, and if you look at teams that you think I've overrated, it's usually their coaching
every
staff.
single person's put Idaho State right there. This is very average what I've seen for most Big Sky followers. Must be the only one that doesn't see it because we beat them 77-30. So I just don't see the talent there. Yeah. But that's just me being biased then.
Matt, anything else on the Big Sky for you?
I mean, I'm just so intrigued by Montana State from a schedule standpoint. You know me, I say it every year. It is harder to get back to the title after you lose than it is when you win. It seems to be opposite. People are like, oh, now you got a target on your back. I'm like, man, these teams that lose the title game, they just seem to have this letdown season, as is tradition.
They do.
They're going to go to Oregon first off, and then we know how that's going to end. Even if they look as good as Idaho, like they're going to go to Oregon. And then the next week, it's going to be South Dakota State, who, as a Bison fan, forgive me, but here we go. I hope they beat the piss out of Sacramento State. I hope they beat them 70,000-0. And I just
not a Sac State fan this year.
I hope Chase Mason I just hope they absolutely obliterate them. So, but then SDSU is going to go into Montana State, and it's like, okay, you're about to be 0-2, and I know the FBS isn't going to hold against you. Be 0-2, but here's the thing. Then their schedule: San Diego, Mercyhurst, Eastern Washington, Northern Arizona, Iowa State. Northern Arizona at Northern Arizona is not easy, and they go at the Grizz. So, okay, like you lose to the Grizz, you lose to SDSU. I don't know.
What if they beat SDSU?
If they beat SDSU, then you look like you're in the driver's seat, to be honest.
Right now, I would probably, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I'd lean a little bit more towards Montana State.
At Montana State.
At Bozeman. Yeah.
At Bozeman.
And they bring back more than SDSU does.
Right. It could feel, I hope that game, here's how I'll end it. I hope that game is as good as when it was at SDSU in the regular season.
That's a good one.
That was great. So very, very, very intrigued there. And shout out to the Grizz as well. Being top 10 back again. Let's see if they can get something done.
All right. We got one more conference to talk about. I think we all know who it is. We're going to talk about the Valley. We're going to look at a bright-ass red screen. We've got 4 teams in the top 10. But that's all I have ranked in the top 25. I think Southern Illinois bounces back. North Dakota looks good. So the depth of the Valley looks awesome. I think Southern Illinois just suffered so many injuries last year that it just killed them. Still like Nick Hill as a coach. And I will say before I go through talking about a bunch of these teams, go back and listen to last week's Jackrabbit Illustrated with Chad, Dallas, Alex, and Brendan. They gave you a really, really good breakdown of the Valley. I agreed with a lot of what they said. But here's where I have them all. I do have South Dakota over South Dakota State. Aiden Bauman comes back, might be the best returning quarterback. And then Illinois State's got that quarterback. They've got Rittenhouse coming back. North Dakota State and South Dakota State, each breaking in a new quarterback. Neither one of them I am super high on yet. But track record says they'll both be fine. And North Dakota, I know Dallas is really high on North Dakota. I'm going to play wait and see. I'm probably higher on Illinois State than most people, but we expect the Valley to be awesome this year, and I've got 3 of the top 4 teams coming from there.
Yeah, the question is just going to be when they meet each other at what time. I mean, who are you going to have faith in when they hit a home stadium? That's especially with those top 3 that you've got here. NDSU 1, South Dakota 3, and South Dakota State number 4. First game of conference play is in Fargo. The Coyotes coming to NDSU, going into Fargo. So most people's gut are going to go, like maybe a revenge game last year after a letdown. Unless things look glaring, probably going to go NDSU on that one. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe South Dakota State is going to travel to South Dakota this season. So you're like, who knows? But I mean, that's not going to be in Brookings. And then NDSU has to go to South Dakota State. So I think that is very interesting. That sounds like a lazy take, but look how close that NDSU-SDSU games were both those games in Fargo. You convinced it goes that way in Brookings? I don't know if I'm convinced that way.
I think the real interesting thing will be will either of those teams from Illinois be able to beat any of the top three?
And I'm glad you said that because like Illinois State's going to look sexy early, and then they go to South Dakota, they go to South Dakota State, and they host NDSU. That's always the question mark with them. That's the Southern Illinois State problem. Is it was South Dakota prior to a year ago, but what will you do when the big dog is at the gate? Like, that's the question, you know?
Here's my little thing with Illinois State. I do think you actually have them a little too high. And I get they were what? They finished right around the top 10 last year. So me saying that,
I called them a
seems
paper
ridiculous.
tiger last year. I don't know about
Yeah,
this year.
but they only played 3, in my opinion, top 20 teams all year last year. And they lost 40-7 to each of them. And they avoided South Dakota State. That would have been another 40-7 type of game. I think they're closer to that Southern Illinois. So that's going to be more exciting to see because now they have a very easy out-of-conference schedule. Illinois State, again, very easy outside of Oklahoma. Good luck. But Oklahoma's not the same as it used to be, but still good luck. You're not going to win that game. But you actually do play the 3 top-tier teams. Plus, you end the season with Southern Illinois. I can see Illinois State lose. As long as Southern Illinois is healthy, I could see them losing all 4 of those. And then they beat the teams they're supposed to. So I don't think they're a top 10 team. And I don't think they were even close to it last year, even though they ended it because Matt said it, paper tigers. We saw it when they actually played against the big boys. They weren't competitive. ETSU was more competitive when they played against big boys.
Yep.
Illinois State. So I just think there's a much bigger gap between those top 3 and maybe even a few of the Southland, UAC, Big Sky than Illinois State. I think Illinois State probably should drop down between that 15 to 26. But again, it's only 6 places. Now we're nitpicking at that point. But that's where I think probably it's a paper tiger. There's a big gap between the top 3 and the rest.
The Jackrabbits are going to be so interesting to me. I mean, they have an opportunity to get 2 top 10 wins. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Sac State preseason number 10, or
they are on my list. I have a feeling they're going to be somewhere between
like
17, 15,
15.
somewhere in that range.
So
but we'll see.
You'll knock a top 25. You'll knock a top 25 win out to start, hopefully by 1 billion points, and then you got that Montana State game, and then they get to host NDSU this year, but they're going on the road to UND, on the road to South Dakota. Now let's actually stop talking about home and away games. The thing with SDSU is you got the quarterback. They lost a lot of players, a ton. Yeah. But boy, some of their O linemen they're bringing back and some of the transfers they got in, those are some big hogs. Those are big boys. So they to me feel like they've got the depth and reloaded, but I can see it going bad. I can see it going bad for South Dakota. I can see it going as bad as it could be for North Dakota State. I think I agree with Kevin in the Twitter threads. He was arguing with some of my favorite Bison fans. I think I'm with him a little bit where, listen, it might turn out where, of course, these teams just end up winning the title or whatever. But it sure looks like this is some open opportunities for at least one of those top 3 teams to not have the season you think they're going to have. It will not shock me if there is a 8-win team out of those top North Dakota State, South Dakota, or South Dakota State. I just really think one of them is not going to perform to the level that everybody is expecting. I can just see it. I don't know why. Got a feeling.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I'm more curious about Northern Iowa. They have fallen from graces, right? And probably no one's talking about them. They just hired Drake's head football coach, right? And Drake actually went pretty competitive with Tarleton with a not very experienced, not very talented roster. They beat Eastern, and again, Eastern sucks, but again, they still beat Eastern. Does now a more talented roster, more facilities in Northern Iowa, does that coach just maybe bring Northern Iowa back? Because they were back-to-back Pioneer League champs. They weren't afraid to play anyone, and now you get finally pretty damn close to a blue blood. I mean, Northern Iowa's not a blue blood because they never won a title, but they were always a team that we would discuss as, hey, you're going to be a top 10 team. They're always going to be tough to face no matter what. In the last few years, they've kind of died off after COVID. But does Northern Iowa, with this hire, maybe get back to the top half of the Valley?
They very well could. I mean, Coach Stepp, because that's what we're going to call him, like the Jackrabbit guy said. We're just going to call him Coach Stepp because if you go Googling him, you might get in trouble. So just be aware of that. But yeah, that's a fair point. It could very well, improve. And it might not be this year. I mean, it could be in the next,
Right.
2 years. They could show back up in the top 30, and they would be where they need to be.
I wouldn't be
they're going to
shocked if
commit.
they were closer to 30 than 72. I'm not saying they're going to be, but I wouldn't be shocked because I bet you that coach is bringing back some old school football to Northern Iowa.
I would think so. All right.
I like it, though.
Yeah, we've gone through all the conferences, so I got a couple more to show. We'll show the whole rankings as they sit. We'll just quickly look at the back part of it from 26 on, where that lines up. You can see how that looks, and if you've been keeping up, you already knew where this was. And then here's the top 25, so we can revisit our taco bet. So I had 6.5 of the top 10 and 13.5 of the top 25 for our over-unders.
Oh, man.
I will
be perfect.
1, 2, 3, 4. So North Dakota State going to be a top 10. Montana State top 10. Yeah. Top 10 is like quarterfinal.
You might have the top 8 right.
South Dakota State. And Cardinal Word probably hits that 5.
Yeah, I'm going to say you're going over 6 on the top 10.
Okay.
That was it, right? 6 of the 10?
6.5, so yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Illinois State out. Sacramento State out. Rhode Island. Rhode Island gets upset. They're out. Oh, man. Tarleton. 6.5. This correct. Is good.
Yeah.
Under. 4 of them. 4 of them.
5.5. 5.5 was too easy because you just say, okay, Montana's and Dakota's, move on.
Just to disagree with Tyler, I'll go under, but I'm not sold on it. I wouldn't watch that. I would not watch that.
13.5. I think you're going to hit 13.5 too. You're going to probably get 15 right.
Be close.
Not the right order. But
no, definitely not. So here's a bonus one. Over under 2.5 teams that rank number 1 this year.
Under.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Just because I don't know how many people beat North Dakota State, so I don't know if there's going to be an opportunity.
They'll go lose.
And whoever loses that Montana versus South Dakota State game, Montana, they're going to be pushed below the other 2 anyway.
Well, and you know me, the winner of that game might just jump to number 1 because they've got a big win.
Yeah.
So you know how I rank. So we'll see. But that's it, guys. I kept it under 2 hours this year. Still a long one. I'm completely out of water. So I got to go get some more of that before I go to bed. But I'm looking forward to it. It was a fun exercise. I know I'm not going to be real close on some of these teams. It will be like, 100 spots off like Lehigh last year. But you never know. Might hit on a couple too. So,
but at the end of the day, people like me are going to nitpick you, yet we will never do this. Ever. We're never even not a chance. The fact you do this means, you're with the analytic guys who are just putting in a computer system. No one's doing this. So hats off to you. And if you don't miss on any, then you're a freak of nature and something is cheating and we need to put you in jail or do a 30 for 30 on you for sports.
Or just go to Vegas and start playing poker or something.
Retire.
Yeah. Shout out to the folks who listened to the whole thing. This will be chapter and time stamped for people's listening. But dude, it's just ridiculous for anybody to say that they could do any better, that they would put in this much work and effort. We love this episode. We love breaking it down. And what am I supposed to sit here and say that I do a ton of homework prior to this episode? Hell no, this is my homework. Jamie brings
our
group
homework
project. Hey, we all get an A on the group project because Jamie Williams brings the data.
Yep. He does the homework. We stare over him and write down the answers. So we appreciate Jamie.
There we go. So obviously we didn't take any questions in this episode. So folks, be looking out. We'll start taking questions for our next episode. Look out for that. We'll post them up. Matt, any closing thoughts from you?
Just excited to get another season of this podcast going, and then I'll leave you to it. I can't wait to be doing a Hillbill Seek Thrills all the way down to Nashville. Pew, pew, pew.
Praise Dale.
Change it up.
Kyler, any closing thoughts? Can you top what Matt just said? Because I don't even know if I realized what he said for that North Dakota.
Nope, not gonna try. Just thanks for watching. Boom.
Boom.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, now you sound amazing.
Allison's AirPods connected to the Mac.
Oh,
Why? I don't know how to fix this. I'm trying to get my
Allison.
AirPods off.
Hi, Allison.
I'm trying to listen to
We
my
love you.
book.
no, this is the only book you need.
Want some Mountain Dew?
Matt said, yeah, I already had a whole one today. Oh, you can't hear what they're saying to me?
No.
Oh, it's not good, Matt. I don't think you can do podcasts with them anymore.
Are they talking to you right now?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Okay, I'm getting off.